So, in my last video I uploaded on Wednesday, I chatted about what the EU elections are, what MEPs are, but the biggest question that everybody was sending in to me was, how do we tactfully vote if we believe in Brexit? So I have brought with me...
The lady who can tell you.
Queen of Anti-Brexit.
I mean, that's a nice title. I'll take that.
Saviour of Britain, Gina Miller. Gina, you've been known for many things, and you've got a book out now. It's incredible.
You know, I don't have enough to do, so I thought I'd write a book.
No, why not? Add to it. Self-sabotage. It's the best. But tell us. I hate that you're known for this one thing, but you did sue the government for Brexit. Is that a really? That's a very simplified way of explaining it. Well, basically,
I sued Mrs. May for trying to put herself above the law. She thought, because I'm Prime Minister, I can just do what I want. And I went to court and went, no, you have to obey the law. And the law is, you can't just trigger Article 50.
So you were taking no prisoners?
No.
None of that.
In all of this, we can't take any prisoners because this is actually about the future of our country.
Yeah.
This is about what's going to happen for the next generations to come. This is one of the biggest moments of our history since sort of Henry VIII, because that's when he changed, the courts, the way Parliament works, but also he changed the churches as well. The whole, Catholicism bringing the Church of England. So this is one of those moments in history. This is going to change the course of the United Kingdom for hundreds of years. That's how important this is.
Yeah, and it's sometimes hard to get a grasp on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're like, it's kind of like the elections that my grandparents had and my parents had. And we're like,
it's not.
No, it's worse.
It's big. It's much bigger than that because that basically the people on the other side of the argument, the Leavers, their ideology is to knock down everything we know, to break everything we know, and yet they have nothing to replace it with. So it's, let's just burn down everything we know and let's see what comes out of the ashes. And unfortunately, it'll be their vision of the future. They're anti-maternity pay, they're anti-climate change. Climate change is stupid, is what they say. They're anti-rights, they're anti-equality. They just don't believe that we should have experts. Why listen to anybody? And also, let's just send everybody back. Let's just make this into a country where we hate everybody rather than understanding that we should put our arms around and love everybody. Yeah. I mean, their vision of the future is not one I'm comfortable with, and I'm sure it's not one that you and your viewers are comfortable with.
It's not fun. And I think as well it comes back to what we were taught. So I think there is an idealistic idea of what Britain used to be like in some people's minds that's quite damaging.
Well, but the thing is, Great Britain, what we are on the world stage is tolerant, sensible, humane, moral. These are the things that make us Great Britain. And those are all the things they think are bad. What's bad with being the nice guy?
Yeah.
What's bad with being the good guys? What's bad with being, cool and calm and collected? That's what makes this Great Britain. And they're now going, no, you have to get angry and emotional and destructive. That's not who we are.
It's not.
I was speaking to a psychologist the other day who said the thing is the natural British temperament is cool, and now we're in a place where everyone's telling us to be heated and hot, and we're not comfortable there. And I thought, actually, maybe we're in the middle, warm. Let's just
lukewarm.
Let's just get warm and cuddly, not cold and not hot. So let's not one or the other.
I think Britain needs a therapist right now. That might be a really good way. It's like we just need we're in a time of self-harming almost. Yeah.
So how do you talk us out of this? And I think you talk us out of it by talking about the fact that we are kind people, we're tolerant people, we're so inclusive, we're funny. We have one of the best sense of humours of every country. I mean, everybody in the world, if you look at our programs, our comedy programs, they're streamed to more countries than any other comedy program any other country has made, and that's a fact.
So I have some questions that I've been sent in.
Okay.
And they are maybe my questions too. Okay. We'll pretend that I particularly know the answers to these. So we want to help ourselves, like you were saying. How will voting on the 23rd of May, put that in your diaries, 23rd of May.
Yeah, don't forget, 23rd of May.
Will it help?
It will help.
It make a difference? Because I feel like so many people are like, does it matter? It
really matters.
The one trip out of the house that is just going to...
No. It matters for three main reasons. One is, with this rise of the Brexit Party and Farage, they're going to say, if they get the majority of MEPs, if they get a big majority, they'll say, you see, we told you we're a Brexit country now. So they'll own that win, and they'll then replicate that and say that's what Britain is. And none of the polls are showing that. The polls are showing that we are actually now a Remain country, yet they're going to hijack that message. That's why it's really, really important. The second thing is, if you think about it, if we win and we Remain and revoke, however we get there, those MEPs that are elected on the 23rd of May are going to sit for 5 years. They're going to go and represent us at that table in the European Parliament. They don't believe, as I said, in climate change. They don't believe in social justice. They want to get out of the Human Rights Bill. They're going to start destroying, sitting with the other far-right MEPs from other countries and trying to dismantle
rubbing
the
up
EU.
on them, being like...
I mean, they're trying to just, the first attack they're going to go for is climate change. We know that. All their legislation they want to get rid of. So they're going to be, destroying from within. They're going to be the cancer within the European Parliament. And that's why it's so important as well, because the irony of us winning, on our side, Remainers, is that they're going to take their seats.
Yeah.
So that's really important to understand. And the third thing is that big rush of whirlwind, if you like, momentum that Brexit Party and Farage are getting. This is the first step for them then going to the next step, which is becoming a formal political party with a manifesto and saying that they're going to fight an election if there's an election. So this is the foundation that they're building on. So we've got to make sure it's not a solid foundation. We've got to crack it and break it as much as we can.
I'm a best case scenario person, so let's think about that. What is the best case scenario? If everybody turns up to vote and votes tactically, which we'll talk about in a second, could it change Brexit?
No, it will do two positives, because I'm like you. I think let's just concentrate on the positives. We'll dent the number of MEPs that are elected by the Brexit backing parties, which is a great win. But also, very importantly, look at it like a total sheet, a ledger. If you have on the Remain side a lot more votes and on the Leave side a lot less votes, that's basically a proxy second referendum.
Yeah.
And we can say, you see?
It's a really binding way of being
it's a really important way of saying this side, our side, has got more votes. So that's why turning out to vote is so important. So it's about the messaging of all of this, because what Farage and the Brexit Party are doing really well is they are blocking the airways with their messaging. And it's simple and it's untrue, but they're getting the leverage, and we've got to step up and make sure we're getting our message out there. Because he's hijacking our voice. If you think about it that way, if you don't vote, they're hijacking your voice.
They're
so
silencing
you've got
you.
to speak. They're silencing. You've got to speak up. You've got to do it.
And do you think that we could have a second referendum? Do you still hold that as possible?
I've always thought that we look at where we go, because we are a representative democracy. It would have been a lot less disruptive if they just could sort it out. We all know it's impossible now. Not going to happen. So my first choice would be we just revoke. Yeah. Because when I say just revoke, because we've got a lot of work to bring this country back together. And all the things have been neglected. We need to get on with it. So we, revoke and reform, whatever you want to remain and reform, however you call it. Let's just it's a bit like a parent telling a child, right, you've had enough of stamping your feet and banging your head against the wall. Now behave yourself now. We're getting over this. This is what's going to happen. So we need to just explain what's going to happen next, because we've just got too many big things happening for us to just carry on this. So my first choice would be to revoke, but if we can't revoke, then I think the next one is to go back to the people, because the politicians they're all looking after their own backs. They're thinking about their own jobs
and re-election.
And I might say this. I mean, I tell you, I have conversations all the time, and they're wonderful conversations. And my last question is, so how are you going to vote? Oh, well, I have to think about my mortgage. I have to think about my seat. They're mealy mouthed, honestly, and I just leave this so cross.
And you're like, your house is going to be underwater in 20 years, don't get climate change properly.
I mean, they just don't understand. We've got every statistic coming out at the moment. We've got more medication, more what I call despair deaths, and we've got I mean, you know it. Sleeping on the streets, homelessness, isolation. We have so many problems. The most distressing thing I found in the last 3 years is that I've gone around the country, I travel a lot and go to a lot of leave areas in particular, because I want to go that extra mile. And I didn't know how many things were broken. I have to say, I didn't know. The phrase I hear all the time is, Brexit is the last straw. Now, why is it the last straw? Headmasters associations to care agencies, everybody says the same thing. We've got to put that right.
Yeah. It's like having a messy house and being like, well, just set it on fire, we'll start again, we'll build a new house.
God,
no. Tidy your house.
Someone said, so this is the whole thing, Farage, so you knock it down. I go, yeah, you can burn the house down, but then you have to have an architect, planning permission, the lawyers. I mean, how long is it? You have to have a
Meanwhile,
plan.
you're being rained on.
You have to have a plan. No, in the meantime, you're on the street, living in a tent or in your car or wherever. But, they don't have a plan. This is the thing. Mr. Farage has been this champion for Brexit, leaving the EU for 25 years. surely he's got a plan because he's had 25 years to think about it. If
Don't
there's
stop.
anybody who could come up with a plan, surely it should be him.
Yeah. And
It
nothing's
should-
there.
nothing's there.
So tell us a bit about tactical voting, because I think sometimes I'm like, is tactical voting just voting? Because for me and a lot of my friends, I've kind of always wanted to vote Green, but I
Yeah.
never have, because my brain is doing what we're now calling a tactical vote and being like, oh, but
Well-
they'll never get in, so I'm going to vote Labour. Or,
No,
you know.
so the three things about these EU elections is they're not like normal elections. They are what's called proportional representation, but it's not equally weighted. So 30% of the vote would get you 30% of the seats. It's some weird Belgian mathematician who came up with this system. Don't know why we ever brought it in, but that's what we've
Here
got.
we are.
Here we are. So it doesn't work like that, and it's not about the personalities either. It's just the parties. And basically, it's like scores on the doors. Whoever gets the biggest numbers are going to get the seats. That's the way the math sort of
Right.
works in this. So in the different regions, we just got to get behind one part, get the biggest number of seats. And I have to say, in some regions, it's two parties. In a lot of the regions, it's one party. We have sort of on our website, remainunited.org, we've kept it simple so people can understand. But behind that, the engine, the maths, the psychology, and the algorithms we've built are really, really complicated.
Yeah. So when you're electing a regional MP, they're not really going to be just making decisions for your region. So it's not about.
It's not. See,
Bins.
no. See, so that's what I was going to say. The second thing is, so the first thing is, it's not the individual, it's the party. So that's really important. And they're not going to sit in the UK. What they're going to do is sit in with other member states and talk about things like climate change, about consumer protections, about are we going to tax Google, how a director,
Yeah.
what's going to happen with some of the big corporates, what's happening with machine technology, how is that going to affect? So really, really big questions.
Yeah.
So they don't talk about domestic policies. So it's not about your bins. It's about the planet
Yeah.
and are we going to war and really
Yeah.
big global issues.
And we measure it regionally, but say like in France, apparently they don't have regions.
No,
It's
no,
just,
no,
it's
no,
just
no.
wild.
No, it's really bizarre. So that's what I'm saying. We adopted this system in the UK, but all other member states have a different system. Even Northern Ireland has a different system. So this is just a system for us in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's really important to say it's not personality, it's not people, it's the party.
Yeah.
They're not going to look at policy per se in the UK. It's not your local policy. It's at the EU level. So this is EU level. But it's also the fact that this is going to be, it's the messaging around these elections. The messaging is going to be hijacked by Farage and the Brexit Party. And we've got to stop that. We've got to take ownership of this message.
So tell me what you've done. Tell me about your website.
So what we've done is we hired, because the Brexit Party and Change UK didn't exist in 2014, when it's the last time we had these European elections, and we couldn't sort of just rely on the 2017 general election data, voting data, or the 2016 referendum data. We've basically, this DeHont system, the machine, feeding into that, we've used the data from 2017, 2016, but then we've also commissioned real-time polling. And then thirdly, fourthly, we built an algorithm. So we went to see what research engines do, what translation services do, dating agencies. The dating agencies, the algorithm, they say they can tell you when you're falling in and out of love before you know it. Apparently they can tell you that. So we basically built one that's looking at how voters are falling in and out of love with their political parties.
Because it's slightly predictable, because there's so many people that you can build an algorithm to
We can
predict.
build, but also, what you do is you build the algorithm around their personality. So what is it you like? What is it you food?
I'm a
you
Gemini.
take- Yeah, that's it. But you can then build, and that's how you get those pop-ups all the time, because they're targeting your profile, not what you say and how you respond in a poll. It's actually looking at you as an individual. So that's what we did as well. So we built this, and then we put that all in.
Kind of cool. I
It's
didn't know
kind
it was an
of cool.
algorithm. Okay.
Yeah, we built an algorithm.
yeah.
This is machine learning. I mean, I've gone out there and found the best people I can find.
Yeah.
And when the data came back, we had, cold statisticians at universities, some professors looking over it. So that's what I'm saying. It looks simple because people need to understand it, but it's really
got a lot.
complicated.
So
and we're rerunning again, though. We're rerunning it. So we published the really up-to-date one on the morning of the 21st of May.
Yes. So we can go to the website now.
That's
but-
recommendations now.
Yeah.
We think 2 regions might change.
Yeah. Okay. So
You
we
might get your green.
At the moment, yeah, I might get my green. Yes. Come on.
Depends where
Come
you
on,
are.
you green.
But again, it's not about not turning your back on your green. I absolutely adore Caroline and the Greens, and they should be part. They should actually be part of the next coalition. I really think the Greens should be there, and they should be driving the policy in that area, because who's better at it than them? But it's not about domestic policy. It's what's going to happen.
It's like who other people around you are most likely to vote
Look,
for.
just think about it this way: that we're not voting for a party. You're voting against Farage and the Brexit Party. That's what this is all about.
Okay. So at the moment, Lib Dem.
In England, it's Lib Dem at the moment. And in Scotland, it's SNP. And again, it's not about what they think about unification and independence. It's about this election.
Mm-hmm.
And in Wales, it's Plaid. But it could change because we know, unfortunately, Brexit Party are upping every day. I mean, we think they're up another 8%. It's really scary.
So the tactical voting is predicting how many other people in your area are going to vote like you and making
to get
sure
that
on
biggest
their side.
number, because the biggest numbers will convert to the biggest seats, and that's the way it works.
And because we don't have like a second take at it, so I can't remember the words for it. So when you vote, if you vote for say the Green Party,
transferable.
It's a single non-transferable vote.
It's not transferable, and it's literally scores on the doors.
Yeah. So if you vote for the Green Party or like a smaller party in your region, it will
split it.
Likely to get forgotten.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's brilliant. No, that's good. I want to end on a half. No, this is a good note.
Okay, good.
Can you tell us a little bit about your book and how you found?
Thank you for asking.
That's fine, and how you find the gumption to keep at it, because I feel like for some of us we feel really like lethargic and exhausted and kind of like very, very grey.
Look, my entire family says it's exhausting just being around me. Because I think I'm just very blessed. I don't sleep a lot. I don't need to. I sleep about 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's just
You'll
nature.
sleep when we're in Remain.
No, I just never have. I just think, and also because I'm just a big picture. I'm a strategist. I can think big picture, and then I reach out to others. I can never do things on my own. And
Delegation.
I'm really honest with what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. So I know what I can and can't do. But the book was important because, as I was traveling around the country, as you know, I had nothing else to do. I thought I'd write a book, but I did it in 4 months, which is pretty quick for a book. But the reason the book is really important is I wanted to use my platform and my life to help a lot of young people that I was meeting around the country who are feeling, I was picking up, really hopeless and lost and fragile and thinking, we really want to do something, but are we strong enough, and questioning themselves about how much they can create change. So what I've done is I've used the lens of my life, all the failures, all the things have gone wrong, and sort of tried to be practical of how I've picked myself up. I've broken a lot of taboos. I mean, I'm a victim of domestic violence, quite violent domestic violence, and I've written a whole chapter about that, really honestly, because I know a lot of women and girls, universities I've met, feel that they're the only ones going through that. So I wanted to put an arm around them. That's what my book is. I wanted my book to be an arm around people, so when they're feeling bad, they know that there is hope out there.
Yeah, and I often feel like sometimes because we don't, my feeling is that in British schools we don't really get taught a very wide sweeping idea of what history is. We don't feel like things can change because they've always been this way. And really digging into the history of Britain is like, it hasn't always been this way.
The simple message also is that politics is not something that happens in a cold building somewhere. Politics is policy, and policy are people, and it's how you live your life, the water you drink, the street you live on, you walk on, the food you eat. That's politics.
Yeah.
So you have to get involved and defend it. The air you breathe now, the air we breathe is politics.
Yeah.
So
people are like, no politics at the table. I'm like, literally the table is politics.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel passionate because I want this world to be one that everybody, all of you, all my children, everybody, I've got 3 children, can feel proud of as well, because I don't want to wake up one day and find it's a world we're ashamed of. We should be proud of it, and we've got to fight for the country we're proud of.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Gina, for answering my very stupid question.
You're not stupid at all.
Is it going to be okay? Probably.
It'll be okay.
If we fight, if you log on to, what's the website called?
RemainUnited.org.
I'm putting it on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you like the logo. It's a heart.
I love it. I know. It's going to be okay. It's going to be
okay. It's going to be okay.